All right, welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Nice to see everyone. You should be able to see my screen right now. Let's wait 1 or 2 minutes and then get started with the presentation. Today, we have 30 minutes to talk about DAOs and how DAOs will impact your life and how you can get get ahead with that and take some opportunities for you. So it's gonna be interesting. I have seen already 3 people's graduates from yesterday and this morning. So congratulations to all of them. I don't know if they are in the chat right now. But yeah, congratulations, guys. You were pretty fast. I don't know if you started before Monday, but if not, you're like rockstar because it was really fast. Yes, this is also streamed on Twitter, and well, it's streamed like everywhere, like as much as I can, just to bring more attention on this topic. Okay, let's go. Let me check my mic. Okay, everything good. Let's get started. So, 100% of you, all of you that are here today, this morning, this afternoon with me, you will end up working for a DAO. I know it, I feel it. It's just the matter of time and also which DAO you will work for, what you will do exactly, that is not defined, but you will work for a DAO. I'll give like a timeline of 5 to 10 years. It's just a matter of time. It's getting really, really accelerated, so things will move fast. And you will love it. I have a question for you. So for those of you that are on Zoom right now, if you can answer in the chat, honestly, what is the last thing you bought? And who did you buy it from? I can start. The last thing I bought was actually groceries, and I bought it from Pingodosh. Pingodosh is like one of the biggest brands for groceries in Portugal. I live in Portugal. So it's a corporation, like a big corporation. They have like, you know, um, thousands of shops across the country. So I know we have like yeah, we have a special kind of population here. So maybe not all of you, but I'm guessing that the majority of you, the last thing you bought might come from a corporation. So maybe the last thing you bought was groceries like me. Maybe the last thing you bought was a MacBook from Apple. Those new MacBooks are actually really cool, the MacBook M3s. Maybe the last thing you bought was actually like a subscription that you don't even remember that you have, like maybe a subscription to Netflix or a subscription to ChatGPT. Or maybe the last thing you bought was gas that probably comes from a big corporation. My point here is I'm surprised because yeah, of course, most of you the like the OGY token on IC Lighthouse. Yeah. But that's a very, very special subset of the population here. Most of the things that we bought today comes from big corporations. So I generated this image from ChatGPT, and some of the brands here are kind of messed up, but you can recognize some of them, like I mean Nike, McDonald's, Tesla, and so on. And so we live in a corporate dominated world. So most of people they work for corporation. We save money to buy things for corporation. We invest in stocks for corporation. When we take a transport, it's owned by corporation, or we buy it from corporation. Corporations are everywhere, and there is a reason for that. It's not like some random thing that happened, because it was not always the case. At some point, there was like a dominant structure that were maybe the churches. At some point, there were dominant structures that were kings and empires. Now it seems it's corporation. But why is that? Because corporation, since the Industrial Revolution, have been the most efficient structure to handle capital. So capital is very simple to understand. It's like money and asset. And capital is super simple. Capital just goes wherever capital is treated the best and wherever there is more chance to get more capital. So investors, they invest when they can get a return. And corporations are really good to create return on investment for many reasons, but I would say three of the main ones are on the screen right now. Corporations can specialize. So on the right, they can specialize, which means they can really target a specific market, get really good at doing a specific thing, and then they can reduce the cost. People will become hyper specialized in a specific industry, and you get really good at something and you get really cheap at something, at doing something and producing goods and services. So you can essentially destroy competition by making things cheaper and more efficient. The second thing is on the left. So the scale, there is a concept that, economy of scale. So the more market you take over, the bigger the structure becomes, the more efficient it becomes. Again, question of efficiency. You can make economy of scales because you have more suppliers and more providers. So you can negotiate better deals. And it's all a question of, becoming more efficient and more structured at doing something. So scale is a big one. And the last one is accumulation of resource. So accumulation of capital, but also accumulation of talents, accumulation of license and IPs. And the more things you accumulate, it gives you a strong advantage. For example, if you accumulate a lot of, let's say, a lot of licenses and a lot of IPs in a specific market and industry, it makes it really hard for competitors to, get into the market and compete against you. Now, what is the future? Is the future corporation? The world we are about to enter is, and actually we have already entered into this world, is very different from the world that we know for a few reasons. The world that we're about to enter with technology and the major political changes around the world is very unpredictable. And corporations are good for a predictable world, but not so good for the type of world that we are entering into. Communities, they work differently than corporation. They are more flexible, so it's harder to get specialized at doing something. But it's also an advantage because in a world that is changing and a world that is dynamic as we are living right now, it's pretty good to be flexible. You want some flexibility. You don't want to be like, okay, we are doing things that way and we do this like this, and there is no way we do a little bit differently. Communities are also holistic. So holistic, what does it mean? Well, it means that it covers many different areas of life. So it can be like intellectual, it can be like spiritual, it can be like what else? Like emotional. So it's a thing that people are looking at the moment because it's something they are missing in their work. Most people feel like there is something wrong because the work is separated from the life, and it shouldn't be like this. Actually, it wasn't always like this. And communities, even if you work, give you this feeling that it's just more than just a work. It's like you also have connection, so emotional connection. I mean, you can make friends at work. I'm not saying that that might be like a little bit too far, but communities usually are more touching on different areas. For example, at the bootcamp, maybe you have some learning about Motoko, but you also make some connection and also maybe learn things about other subjects than just Motoko and canisters and technology. And the last one, which is actually a new one that makes the difference, is the efficiency. So this comes from technology, and it was not possible before. Corporations were more efficient than communities, but I would argue, and I argue that in the future, communities will be more efficient than corporation. For a simple reason, for an amazing technology that is called DAOs. So what are DAOs? DAOs are those new organizations that are starting to emerge on the internet and on the internet computer especially. DAOs are hubs for the next industrial revolution. So think about what needs to be put in place to start industrial revolution. You need three things. You need the capital, you need the talents, and you need the technology. Everything is here, or everything is coming. Let's start with the tech. Well, the tech is there. Even if it's underused right now, the tech is there. We have this technology that enables us to create a financial system without intermediaries. We have those canisters. We can create organization that no one controls, that can create value, create services. Mostly digital right now because there are still some limitations. We cannot really like have a factory that is controlled by a DAO or having a DAO that controls lands. Eventually it will be possible, but right now I think it's mostly digital. But the tech is there. We have ICP, we have AI coming, and we have many, many other like areas of research that are making kind of breakthroughs at the moment. The next one is the capital on the left. Capital, actually, there are so many like funds and so many people with huge amount of money that are just looking to get money out of the system. So rich people, they are smart usually because that's why they are rich. Well, most of the time, sometimes not true, but most of the time they have like a kind of a vision of the world and they understand things that are happening. There is a big theory right now that you need diversification. So maybe you are rich because you own like stocks and you own like a very specific company and it's like 90% of your portfolio. But what happens if the corporation fails or something like big happen in the markets where your company is located, and from like in a few weeks your entire worth is kind of diluted and doesn't mean anything yet. Rich people understand that right now there are major changes coming, and they know it's unpredictable. They know that we cannot really predict what's happening. There is a lot of uncertainties. And so that means that they want to put their capitals in, new places, new diversifying as much as possible. So Bitcoin is one solution, but Bitcoin is not the only solution. And there is this huge influx of capital that if the right framework for making a DAO and making it efficient and making like a return on investment is found, then things will just flow inside of it. So think of it as like what we had in 2017, if you were in crypto at this time. There was ICOs with Ethereum that went crazy. Like people were like, oh my God, this is the future and everything. But at the time, there was mostly, scam project, and not a lot of project came out from this area. And it's like in every market, you always have anticipation. Now, I would argue we are 7 years later, and now the technology is ready for the type of project and the vision that actually were at this time. So essentially raising funds for like online, making, a project in the open and making that a kind of hub for capital and technology. And the last one is talents. And so this one is pretty obvious. I mean, just look at like what people with entrepreneurial spirit and good brain are doing right now. Just look at what they're doing and you will understand like where everything is is headed right now. So yeah, DAOs bring all of that together. It's like a hub, digital hub, but it's a hub that brings the capital, the talents, and the technology. And when you have that together, this is when industrial revolution and revolution happens. So technological revolution, but more than that. So you get my point. My point is that, my point is that we have a new way of organizing society, especially around trustless software. And this is like a major game changer, which has many, many advantages over previous traditional like ways of organization. So the first one is the corruption. This is a big problem in like in all countries around the world, even so-called developed countries in the Western world, where we were supposed to be like not corrupted and democratic. Things are getting worse. We see like many scandals. People don't even resign. That like politicians are kind of caught on the on the on the act, but they don't even resign. Like there is not even a sense of kind of um how to say that. Like there is not even a sense of this is like a bad thing and we shouldn't be corrupted people running. But anyway, this isn't possible with DAOs. I mean, integrity, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. This is not possible with DAOs. Of course, I'm not saying like there will not be any corruption anymore, because it's hard to, like, there will always be like little point of failure, but it makes things much more complex when you can actually track digitally where the money is spent, who received the money for what, and you can even imagine like algorithm and AI that can, you know, look at like a whole year of spending and kind of identify strange like spending or things that could be like a collusion or interest, merging interest between people. So if a DAO were to run like a city or a country, it would be much more difficult to like spend the money in a corrupted way. So that's the first point. The second point is the global aspect. This is challenging right now because, of course, they are like we live in we all live in countries, and each of us has like different rules and regulation that we have to follow. So it can be challenging, but I would say 10 years in the future, like if we look far ahead, DAOs are all about global and accessibility. So it means that if you're living in Africa or if you're living in Asia, you have the same opportunities. Like you can access the same organization, you are treated the same way, not different ways, and the rules are global. So it makes it much easier to collaborate with people. And at this like time, I found myself collaborating with people from all around the world. Like it's just the way it is, because there are talents that are everywhere. Innovation. I think innovation goes very well with global. The more things, the more knowledge is shared, the more chances of innovation. So if you know that the source code of a DAO is open source, you can very easily plug into it and like start to add some add-ons and modules and start to innovate essentially. When everything is closed, it's really hard to innovate outside of it. Like you cannot the knowledge like of how to make an iPhone or how to make a MacBook is well kept, which is understandable based on the context, but it also makes it easier for innovation to appear and interoperability between different like services. Transparent, auditable. Yeah, I'm very clear. Like the code is transparent, so you can audit it, and for security, that's amazing. We always hear that yeah, crypto, there are many hacks and people getting scammed and people losing their money. That's true, but it's also very good because every time there is a contract that is not secure, there is natural selection happening and just the things getting hacked, and we learn from that. So we know that okay, this contract was hacked because there was problem A and problem B. So we can get that in our mind, and in the future we prevent that. Whereas with corporate or like more closed system, it's harder to get into it and it's harder to hack it because you don't really know how it's working. So for a potential attacker, it can be harder to, start. But it's also very dangerous because you are building like on a like shaky foundation. So like, for example, in the Ethereum world, we know that some contracts have been there for like many years and they store like billions of USDC or USDT. So we can safely assume that those are safe kind of blocks that we can build on top of it. In the case of more closed system, sometimes you can have assumption that this is a secure system, but actually the day the system is more open or there is like some leaks, the system completely crumbled because it's not safe at all. No middleman, so this reduces like fees for many tasks. This is a pretty simple one to understand, but also actually making a big difference for many operations, like sending wires abroad without just paying like ridiculous fees is a good thing. And finally, the last one, which is the most exciting one, co-owned and collaborative. So this is not the first time that we have co-owned structures. Corporations have shares and they have stock. But it has never been so easy to emit, exchange, and just make everyone part of this system. So in terms of like education and like understanding how things work, most people don't really know how those shares like work and what kind of right it gives you. I feel with DAOs, it's much easier to make a system that includes all of the community members in different like scale, but it makes it possible. So what is a DAO? Because we still haven't explained what is a DAO exactly. I need to go a little bit faster on that. But a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. So this is the official definition. But in reality, we are still far from this concept, even though some DAOs are actually closer. But we have decentralization, we have organization, but autonomous is still, I think, a few years. So the idea would be to limit like human interaction from the organization and limit like human kind of weak points or like potential potential weak points. Right now we have, I would say, decentralized organization, and that's already pretty good. So I want to give a few examples. For example, we have Uniswap, which is a DAO that controls the Uniswap DeFi project. We have Gitcoin, which is one of the best DAO on Ethereum. They emit grant and they fund open source and public goods. And we also have the NNS DAO, which is actually the DAO that manage and governs the internet computer. So if we take a look, I'll skip that. If we take a look at the NNS DAO, it's not, yeah, it's here. NNS DAO was launched in May 2021. It's actually, if you look at many metrics, the biggest DAO in the world right now. So this is something that people don't always think about, but it's the biggest DAO, whether it's in terms of the number of people that are in the DAO or the total valuation of it, and also the number of like proposals and things happening, because there are always things happening, even if it's not so exciting. It's like managing nodes, managing subnets, managing some canisters. So it's not like super exciting proposal that change things, but it's actually management and things that are really happening through the DAO. Whenever you go on the NNS UI, you are also part of it's also part of the DAO. So the actual front end, the actual website is controlled by the DAO, which is pretty cool. And this is where you can access your tokens and neurons and so on. So you probably already know that. One last thing that I wanted to talk about today is the SNS, which is also cool. This is not the only way to create a DAO, and there are more ways to create DAOs, but this is one framework that has been created and it's like proven track record. So how does it work? Let's say you have an application. Let's say you are, let's open that. you have created a chat application, and you want this application to be under the control of your community. So every single upgrade, every single code change goes through the DAO. And so you can see some statistic about the DAO here, like the number of token, the treasury of the DAO, many different statistics that we could look into. But we can also look at the proposals. And essentially here you can see that every upgrade here is publicly documented and is transparent and has to be approved by the DAO. So instead of having one team controlling an application and pushing updates whenever they want, they have to go through this framework and they have to, publicly showcase the work they're doing. So we are still pretty early in that. We don't know if it's going to be more efficient, even though I believe it will be. We don't know how to make it more, attractive and more like easier to understand for most people what is happening and why it's interesting. But I feel much more confident to, use those type of application than using something that I don't have access to the code and I don't know who can push upgrade and why. There is this concept of super admin that always has the access, like at Google, there is probably someone with like a super card that can access my data, even though it's not so interesting, but that's just something that I don't really like. So yeah, pretty excited on the SNS. It's a mini version of like a mini framework for DAOs that gives access to fundraise, decentralization, and also gives you access to the entire ecosystem of the SNS at the same time, because all the DAOs that are here, they have like a kind of the same SNS structure, even though there are variation. So they can use similar tools like dashboard, tools to create proposal, tools to manage their treasury. So it's pretty interesting that we have this framework. I haven't seen any as advanced framework, even in the entire Web2 industry. So pretty excited about that. And yeah, that's about it for today. There are many more things that we could talk about for DAOs. You can use DAOs for everything, honestly. Just be creative. Like you can use DAOs for creating a DeFi application, for investing, managing a grant program, managing a social network, creating memes. Like I'm pretty sure this is gonna be like a big type of DAO, the memes DAO, the one that create memes and sell meme even to project. So just be creative and know that you have technology to rely on and you can do like really cool things and be creative. That's my entire point. The system doesn't want to change. Let's rebuild a new one. And if you have any question, please reach out to me. We can talk about DAOs for hours. I love this topic. And that's why the Motoko Bootcamp graduation project is about DAOs. And we are just on time. Perfect. Now we have to, let me see if there are some questions. I'll take them. Let's take 5 minutes for any potential question, and then let's get to the chapter 2. Government want Bitcoin as one world crypto, yes or no? I have no idea, honestly. I think no one really, like, it's more of some governments probably see some interest in Bitcoin, others don't. And that's the good thing about it. It's that like there is a game. There is a whole theory of game that goes behind it. So like if some country decide to ban Bitcoin, then other countries will accept it. And so this is gonna be like a problem for them because the money can move easily. Reputation versus digital identity. Why versus? Why couldn't it be like brought together? I don't have a perfect answer to this question. I would say reputation. Um, reputation. I feel there are always going to be like two things. There is the really like automated things. So, for example, if you graduate from this bootcamp, you receive like a diploma, and I'm hoping to create some like infrastructure and have this diploma gives you like access to specific channels, aspect to specific application, like some advantages. That would go more in the digital identity. That would be like a credential, essentially. Reputation, I know there are a lot of projects working on it, but I just feel it's gonna be hard to really replicate true reputation. Um, and also, I don't think reputation is easy to bridge between like different communities. Like I have a really good reputation in the ICP ecosystem, but not so much in other ecosystem. And so how do you program that? Um, I don't know. I think it's also there is also going always to be a part of like more human to human interaction and just a feeling in general about some people. And this feeling can actually be different depending on which community you are part of. Like maybe some, some communities you are like really well reputed doesn't mean anything, but you have a good reputation. And other communities thinks that you are like making uh, problems and you are not like a correct integrate person. Sorry, I'm getting yeah. Uh, what would be the incentive of creating a DAO? Is it only to have money? No. So that's an important part to have money, but also to be able to collaborate with more people. So if you have a mission, like a project that goes beyond you, like if it's not just about your business or your um, personal interest, but more like collective things, then having a DAO makes sense because it enables other people to contribute to your project. Maybe actually those people they have better ideas or even like better implementation for what you want to achieve. So like a good example would be the Motoko DAO. Motoko um, hopefully at some point will turn into a DAO. And so that will enable people to maybe create some games, maybe create some artwork for Motoko and just in a more open type of way. Of course, it also enables funding to be managed, but it's not the only thing. It's like more than just funding. It's also how you organize and are how people have the opportunity to contribute to a project. I think that's what I was looking to say, like enabling people to contribute. That makes it possible. And yeah, let's close it there. Thanks everyone for the question. Thanks everyone for following up. And I see you in a few minutes in the chapter 2 session. Bye bye.